Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It is still in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we are discussing a 2020 model year launch made in 1,953 pieces in stainless steel. From Breitling. This is the AVI reference 765 1953 Re-Edition. Not every Breitling pilot's watch is a Navitimer. The AVI right here is a fascinating vintage rendition that will go nicely in a collection with the 1959 Navitimer 806 reference re-edition. This watch, though, giving you a different aesthetic, a little bit more classical than the super technical Navitimer with its slide rule bezel. It's nicely sized, 41.1 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel, 14.2 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 48.3 millimeters. One clearly modern evolution has been the spacing of 22 millimeters between the lugs. But on the wrist, it does look the part of a vintage timepiece. It wears nicely. My wrist is 16 centimeters circumference, and I believe you could wear this watch well on a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference with a fairly sloped case flank and rather tall and domed crystal. This watch probably will fit underneath most dress cuffs and just about all jacket sleeves. The strap is high grade, a thick cut. You do get a lot of leather here. Breitling is definitely not shorting you the leather. You've got a matte finish black with a little bit of a distressed aged effect to it. We have a contrasting binding stitch, and that stitch goes all the way down. You could see sheer cut showing the immense layers of leather and the thickness, but it is a brand new Breitling factory strap. You can see no crimping, no gouging on the underside. Then we have a simple Breitling beveled pin buckle for quick adjustments. This is a very aviator style strap right here. And this is a very vintage style case. Traditionally, especially when we're talking about the 50s, you tend to have very narrow case bands on watches. So though there is a little bit of an inset case back and then the bezel and the domed crystal up top, the mid case itself is quite thin. Now it has the longitudinal satin finish. There's a little bit of minimal beveling on its side. The lug ends are squared off, and then the lug hoods are polished. We have vintage-inspired pump-style pushers, a Breitling B logo on the crown. And then if you look carefully here, you have the small beaded profile that was common on Breitling pilots' watches in the 50s. But what I really like here, and look carefully now, this is a captive bezel. This is something we've seen on a lot of Breitling dive watches, for example, but a captive bezel where the bezel is held to the case using screws is something you expect on watches that are double tough. And here we have it on a watch that is maybe not perhaps as rough and tumble as a Super Ocean, but yet it's a captive bezel, making this an even tougher watch, so it's hard to accidentally snap the bezel off. You have to disassemble it and remove the screws first. Now you can see right here that this is an old school aviator's bezel. Each hour corresponds to one click, and it is bidirectional. But unlike a lot of bidirectional bezels, it has a really crisp detent. You can hear it, you can feel it, and the sensation, the tactile sensation, is superb. Now it is a polished and 12-hour calibrated bezel, so maybe not the most conventional timing instrument, but you can estimate the minutes, and it's also fun to be able to read the hours if you are on an exceptionally long flight. It is a pilot's watch after all. The watch uses a Hesalite or thermoplastic crystal, so much like the vintage one, it has this spectacular off-axis distortion as you position it obliquely to your field of vision. And then the dial is matte with white varnished semi-syringe style, really hybrid syringe baton style hands. It does have a faux tina or a simulated radium patina to match the color of the stitching on the strap, and yet there's no penalty to be paid in the luminescence of the dial. You can see both the chronograph seconds hand and the chronograph minutes hand are quite visible even in the dark. Now it's a no-date dial, staying true to the original. The only feature we have that betrays this as a modern fabrication is the hacking seconds function. It's also a vertical clutch, so when you start the chronograph, there's no stagger or jump to the seconds hand, so that is a very precise system characteristic of the B09 manufacture movement inside. But then the nice thing about vertical clutch is not only is there no extraneous play in the movement of the hand, you can leave it running full-time if you wish with no additional hazard or wear or tear on the movement. We have these lovely radially arrayed numerals on the sub-registers. In particular, the Open 9s and the Open 6s are a treat on this vintage-inspired watch. Not much to see on the reverse side. It is what it claims to be, the 765 AVI 1953 Re-Edition. Solid case back screwed on, but water resistance is still dress watch standard, so 30 meters. It is a certified chronometer, and you can see that it uses the B09 caliber, so A is steel, B09 is the caliber. It's a manual conversion of Breitling's B01 automatic chronograph, so 72 hours of power reserve, 47 joules, 4 hertz beat rate. We have a combination of a crisp column wheel function selector with the smooth and efficient vertical clutch, 5-position adjustment, and a COSC chronometer certification. A very accomplished movement. I must say that the column wheel feel on all B01 variants is among the best in the business, up there with the Rolex 4130, the Longa 951, and the latest iterations of the Zenith El Primero, an unadvertised advantage of these Breitling in-house chronographs. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.